Good morning, Twitch TV. How's everybody doing out there in Livestream land? Good? Good. Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing outstanding. Oh my gosh, you're loud in my voice. Yay! Yes. Hey, no technical problems today.
That's true.
This is a good thing.
Things are looking up. Everything's coming up Waystone.
Where's my Monster Energy drink today? Well, today I'm not drinking Monster Energy. Today I'm drinking yerba mate. What's it? Guayaki?
That's a word I can't say, so you're on your own there.
Guayaki. Pure empowerment. I see what they did there. Empowerment, though.
Witty.
Witty, because it's instead of an M-E anyways. Alrighty then. So, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to get into our community catch-up here in just a little bit, and we're going to be chatting with Alex Hetu, this guy right here. I guess, but first we should probably do some introductions. My name is Andy Belford. I'm the community manager for Waystone Games. We are the makers of Dawngate, the game that you're watching this live stream about. And this right here is Alex Gasti Hetu. Would you like to tell the folks at home what it is you do here on Dawngate?
Sure. I'm the systems design lead, so I'm responsible for a lot of the more kind of non-content related stuff. Kind of the design of the spirit wells, the way the item system works, a lot of the more under the hood systems, things like matchmaking or life balance, kind of stat allocations, the stats in general, that kind of stuff.
So what you're saying is you're good at math.
That's one of the things.
Yes.
It's part of my job.
This is actually the only designer I've ever met that actually keeps a TI-85 at his desk. This is no lie. He actually has a TI-85 graphing calculator.
You're revealing my secret shame here. Ian.
I haven't seen one of those things since I was in high school. I'll be completely honest with you. It's a little crazy. So hey, all throughout the stream today, we're going to be giving away keys quietly and randomly in the chat. We use a little Google Chrome extension to select our winners and you keep on pushing me over here. Look at TI-85, telling you,
guys.
So anyways, we give away keys randomly here in chat. You'll receive a PM in your inbox if you win one. Keep an eye out for the Mr. Brad Pluto on the Waystone Games account. He's going to be sending those out for you guys. So if probably about once every 5 minutes or so, we're going to be giving away just quietly, though. We're not going to make a big deal out of it because we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We do. It's true.
Yeah. So
busy morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Very busy morning. We got some cool graphics and Madden stuff. We're going to do a little Madden talk. Anyways, my Madden impersonation is awful. It's just terrible. But I'll probably do it anyways. We're going to be doing that. And then we're going to, first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to do something I like to do every single week, which is actually give a little bit of a shout out to different community sites and stuff like that. We should actually, you know what I actually liked doing last time was going over to the Dawngate subreddit. I just want to actually go over here. I'm going to make this like a new...
A new thing?
A new thing, yeah. Whoa, hey!
Reddit says it won't be a new thing.
If Reddit says, no! I defy you. It's not going to be a new thing. Look at this. Reddit's under heavy load right now. It's because there's so many of us.
When in doubt, constantly refresh.
Yes, there we go. When in doubt, constantly refresh. There we go, Larry. Say hi, Dawngate IRC. Hi, Dawngate IRC. Let's see here. Waiting.
True. It's good people in this IRC.
They're going to get that. Poop. Yep, there we go. That's perfect. Yep, see? There we go. Awesome. You guys do not fail to never fail to disappoint. All right, so anyways, let's talk about what's going on the Dawngate subreddit, actually.
All right.
So let's see here. Obviously, the community catch-up. That's a very...
It's true. That's the thing. It's happening. It's happening right now.
Let's see here. We've got the Dawngate beta tournament coming for this Friday, which we're actually going to have the beta live from 12 to 9 Pacific. That's 9 p.m. Central European Summertime. Hey, look at that. Nope, no, people can't. Oh, people can see that. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's cool. Something's going to be loading later. All right, great. So there's a lot of great discussions going on. The skills are revealed discussion seems to actually be pretty important right there. Pretty interesting, I should say. I like this thread right here, the Dawngate withdrawal.
I know. I was about to reply to this thread right before I had to come over here, which was to say that we're going through the same thing. We are. Like when I go home at night, I'm just like playing games for my own fun. So I was playing some Civ 5 last night. I was like, what I'd really like to be doing right now is playing some Dawngate.
This is true. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of League last night, and I was actually like, I want to play some Dawngate. I'd rather do that right now, but I digress. All right, let's see here. Anything? anything else? This is actually always an interesting stream right here, and this has been growing every single week. And this is the list of people who are actually streaming Dawngate.
Yep. Yeah, I try to tune into these people every Friday. There's some really interesting kind of streamers already popping up within the community, which is awesome to see.
It's very awesome. And I've actually been in touch with some people who've been streaming the game, and hopefully we'll be helping to get the word out. They'll be helping to get the word out and everything like that too. So we're going to be streaming the game.
We will. It's true. That's the thing.
This Friday for 9 hours. 9 hours.
It'll be a marathon of stream adventures.
I think by the end of that we will all be in zombie mode. So anyways, those are some of the cool things that are happening over on the Dawngate subreddit right now. Be sure to check it out, reddit.com/r/Dawngate. Lots of people subscribed over there already. We've got over 1,100 workers, I guess they call them now.
It's true. Little guys.
So,
gathering data, put it in on the Reddit.
Exactly. And as always, a big shout out to Venor for helping to run the show over there. I mean,
for sure, he's doing a great job.
He is. The Dawngate subreddit is a completely and totally community-owned project. We just hang out in there and post in there. But this is all you guys. It's all community. So, anyways, let's talk about this. This is something I wanted to show you guys that the guys over at Curse have put up, and they're kind of just getting started with this. They've been they were talking to us about this actually when we first told them about the game. Curse was very interested in creating a wiki and other fan resource, community resource sites. So they've created this. It's dawngate.gamepedia.com. And this is the Dawngate wiki. You can see that they're getting a lot of really cool things in here, just kind of building from the ground up. They have some... Oh, neat.
It's cool.
Oh, wow. Hey, they got like a little 3-stage thing of the first form. Right, there we go, of the parasite. Talking about the parasite, provides, what bonuses and buff it provides as well at different stages. Doesn't look like they have the... the first evolution occurs at the 5-minute mark. Second evolution occurs at the 12:30 mark. Final evolution comes to the 20-minute mark. Well, they got all that stuff in there.
They got the data.
They got the data. So, anyways, they were doing that. The locust.
Some of the data is a little incorrect.
Some of the data is a little wrong. Yeah, it's supposed to be called the locus, which is where you spawn at and where you can shop at and respec your spellbook at and stuff like that. So anyways, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping things up there. Their news is a little bit out of date, but that's okay. So some props to the except for the Safeway ad popping up there, but whatever. Anyway, so a nice little shout out to those folks there. So go over and check it out, dawngate.gamepedia.com. That's the Dawngate wiki that the Curse folks have stood up, and I'm sure that we'll see much more coming out of that in the coming months. So, anyways, we brought you here today, Gasty, to talk some pretty granular stuff, and we're going to be taking questions from the viewers later on. But today we want to talk about something that's actually very near and dear to my heart, and might be, coincidentally, the reason that this was the first role that was brought up, is playing the hunter role as a jungler in Dawngate.
All right,
stuff.
Let's talk about it.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So first off, let's do a really quick recap on what the role system is, and then let's do a little bit more of a deep dive into what the hunter system does.
Sure. So the role system, at its core, is really about changing the way that you gain Vim in the game to be optimized for your preferred playstyle. So if you are the hunter role, for example, you will gain increased damage, increased sustain, and also gain increased Vim from killing jungle creatures. So that kind of helps provide a baseline... gives the baseline capabilities in order for any shaper to jungle. So if there was a shaper that would normally not be able to handle that role, the hunter role kind of allows them to be proficient in that part of the gameplay.
Okay, awesome. All right, so one of the things I kind of wanted to get into is doing a little bit of a basic stuff. You might want to reach over and grab that thingy over there with the pen. We're gonna get a little bit.
Gotta grab this. Is really just an excuse to show off this cool thing that Andy downloaded, but it's a cool thing, so we gotta do it.
Oh, that didn't work. Okay, that's okay. All right. So, anyways, this is gonna be fun here. So, I'm gonna go over to what I'm calling the Madden screen.
All right.
Alrighty, and then we're gonna look at this later on. But for now, I want to look at this. So, this is a map. This is, by the way, not a pretty I wouldn't call
It's
them.
not the prettiest version, but
It's not the
it
prettiest
gets the job
version.
done.
It gets the job done. It kind of shows you what we've got as far as our map layout goes. I know we're working on a more arted up, kind of better looking version of this. Nat, our UI artist, who you guys saw playing on the stream a couple weeks ago, is going to be working on a little bit different of a. You're probably going to need to see that, actually, aren't you? Let me put that over here so it's right in front of your face. So. He's going to be working on a better looking version of this map, which we'll be happy to actually share with the community, along with the fanside art kit, actually, very soon. So anyways, so let's talk about jungling. Now, I think one of the biggest questions when it comes to jungling is, always where do you start at, right? When you look at other MOBAs, that's always been, a question. Should I start, if you had to give like an analog to League of Legends, do I start golems first or do I start wolves first? There's been a change in that meta recently, obviously, but with when it comes to Dawngate, what are some strategies as far as like starting goes?
So the routes that you can take in Dawngate are really flexible, kind of by design. We wanted to allow it kind of goes with the goal of being able to play any shaper that you want in any role that you want. So in order to allow for different types of shapers to be able to be proficient in the jungle, we designed the 3 jungle quadrants such that they were slightly optimized towards different particular types of shapers. So depending on which shaper you're playing, the kind of most proficient route is different for kind of the situation and what starting build you have. So, for example, the 3 quadrants that we have. Can I draw on this yet? Is this a thing?
You should be able to draw on it now. Yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah, on the right
Right.
there.
Okay.
Right in front
so we have 3 quadrants. We have this quadrant, which has the green buff here.
Okay.
We have the center one, which has the blue buff here.
Okay.
And we have the top one, which has the orange buff up here.
Not to be confused with the donut.
Is true, which is also, the delicious buff, as we call
Yes.
it. What these buffs do is really important as it impacts kind of where the most efficient starting locations are for different types of junglers. So this is basically a defensive buff. This is a utility buff, and this is an offensive buff. The green buff gives you power, blue buff gives you haste, which gives you movement speed, attack speed, cooldown reduction, and the orange buff gives you armor, which just makes it, since everything in the jungle deals physical damage, is a strong defensive choice for the jungle. So that's kind of the first thing to take into account. The second thing is the number of kind of creeps that are in each camp. So in the top section here, the orange quadrant, there are 2 creeps per camp. In the middle section, there are 4. And in the lower section where the green buff is, there are 3. So the reason behind this is to kind of provide proficiency for people with different levels of AoE clear speed. If you have a great deal of AoE, starting in the area with the most mobs is the most efficient, since you can clear them quickly.
Right.
If you are better at single target damage, you should start in the orange area, because you'll be able to take advantage of destroying a single target
so
efficiently.
Let's give a good advantage of, giving a good example of so who would be a good candidate to start in the blue area?
So the blue area, basically anybody who scales well with the utility buff or who has a lot of AoE in their kit. Common junglers are like Moya or Volek, who both have a lot of AoE, are all very effective starting in blue, because not only do they get a lot out of attack speed, being attack speed based bruisers, but they also have a lot of AoE on their kits, so they're generally able to take advantage of clearing the 4 mobs per camp very efficiently. So that's why you often see lots of junglers start in the center quadrant, because most characters that people enjoy jungling have a decent amount of AoE in their kit, which is generally why it's very efficient to start where you can clear the most characters with it. Characters that are also good at jungling but don't have a lot of AoE, junglers like Freya, for example, are generally going to be slightly more efficient starting in one of the other quadrants, where there's more there's a greater distribution focused on a single character.
There we go. Just took care of that. Anyways.
So, kind of one of the most efficient routes that we're seeing in our internal playtests, for example, on strong single target junglers like Freya, is to actually start in one of these side areas. So let's say you start up here with the orange, and then go immediately counter jungle the enemy jungle, because like I said, most junglers are going to start blue. So if you get help with from your team, clear a side quadrant very, very quickly.
Right.
And then you can usually steal the enemy's side buff before their jungler, if their jungler started in the center of the map here, can get over there in time. Especially junglers like Moya, who have a lot of mobility and can kind of dash through these small side walls.
Yeah.
They can get over there and steal that really quickly. So it's really efficient because not only did you waste the enemy's time by the time they go over there to find that their buff's missing, but most of the experience in a camp is on that buff mob.
Right. So let's say you were going to actually be, kind of like a Freya, or do that strategy where you're starting orange and you get that more aggressive counter jungling. Like, what kind of itemization would actually be good to go with if you were going to make that choice?
So it depends on which spell I end up taking. If you take Vanquish, which is designed to help, if you take Vanquish on a jungler, anybody can jungle. It's almost overkill for the jungle. It's designed basically to be, if you are really just want to make sure that you can jungle extremely proficiently, Vanquish will get the job done.
Right.
If you start with Vanquish, you can really start with pretty much anything. You can start basically with just whatever basic item is is the prerequisite towards whatever primary legendary item you're looking to build first.
Okay.
You can certainly double down on it. You can go for a high sustain item like Hunger, or a high damage mitigation item like Resilience, in order to basically make it so that you can just live in the jungle.
Okay.
If you take Vanquish in combination with a sustain or defensive starting item, you'll literally be able to stay, especially with the Hunter role, which gives you increased sustain on top of that. You'll be able to stay in the jungle indefinitely. You will never have to back until you just want to spend your money.
Okay.
What I like to do is I like to play it a little bit riskier, which can be more efficient if it pays off, which is if I start with Vanquish, I usually will try to start with something like Power or something a little bit more offensive so that if I encounter the enemy jungler when I'm doing these kind of riskier counter jungle moves, I'll have a stronger 1v1 advantage.
Okay.
Additionally, you can kind of do the flip of that, which is you can start with a high sustain item like Resilience or like Hunger, which gives you kind of the necessary throughput just to do the basic jungling. That frees you up to start with a much more offensive spell. You can take a spell like Wither, or a spell like Blink or Stasis to kind of give you an additional edge in the 1v1 encounters you might experience in these kind of counter jungling experiences, little skirmishes that end up fighting within the enemy jungle.
Okay.
Another kind of component that makes this counter jungling route very, very efficient is you can also just very quickly, after you steal this buff, wipe out all of the workers at their Spirit Well. Generally, by the time you've taken both of these buffs, the Spirit Well will be just about saturated. The Spirit Well saturates at about 5 minutes into the game or so.
Right.
So you'll be able to wipe. It won't be unlocked, but you can get a decent amount of just personal money from wiping them all out and lower the enemy team's economy quite a bit.
So that is actually one of the things that's unique about Dawngate is our Spirit Well system.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and actually that leads into something that's different about the jungling roles within Dawngate from other MOBAs. Is that you not only, as a jungler, are you kind of responsible for ganking and obviously keeping yourself leveled up and counter jungling, but you're also responsible for harassing economy lines as well in our game.
For sure. The Spirit Wells are a really significant, not only a global economy resource for your team or the enemy team if it's enemy controlled, but they're also a great source of individual experience and money as well. Mm-hmm. So if you personally come in and solo wipe out a fully saturated Spirit Well, mm-hmm. It's worth, in terms of just raw money for you, about a full wave and a half of lane minions worth of money and experience.
That's pretty significant, actually.
It's very significant. I mean, that if you look at the amount of time it takes, because there's 30 seconds between minion waves, right? That's like 45 seconds worth of kind of experience and Vim distribution,
right,
that you obtained in a matter of 3 or 4 seconds. So it's a really kind of large bounty that but the enemy's gonna have vision of you doing it, and it's pretty easy to just cut off your retreat routes here and here, and makes it risky. But it's another reason why, like, Moya, for example, is one of my favorite junglers, because her ability to slip through these walls makes her highly proficient at both counter jungling and safely attacking Spirit Wells.
I feel the same way about Kel. I mean,
Kel's another great one.
Another more kind of a more tanky jungler, but definitely has that same mobility you're talking about, though. So, hey guys, we do see all the questions that are popping up in chat, and we want to answer them. We will answer them a little bit later on in the stream. And for those of you guys who are tuning in for the first time, who've never actually seen Dawngate, hey, we understand that you guys are probably a little bit have little bit curious, have some questions. Some of you probably have some criticisms too. That's fine. We welcome your criticisms. We welcome your feedback. What I would say is this: is before you talk smack about the game, why don't you try playing it first? Sign up for the beta by clicking the link that says "Shape the Future of Dawngate" below. Hang out here in the stream. We give away keys here regularly in the stream. You do need to be following the channel in order to win a key, but we do that, and you can play in the games in the beta tests. We do them, pretty regularly. We've got one coming up this Friday from 12 noon Pacific to 9 p.m., so a full 9 hours of testing. So, anyways, all right, so where were we? We were talking about we're talking about the importance of spirit wells and mobility of shapers. One thing that I have noticed, and that a lot of people have actually commented on the stream just looking at this, is that our jungle, I would say, maybe 2 ratio for lane, how much lanes take up on the map. Our jungle seems to take up a huge portion of the map compared to other MOBAs.
Yep.
What do you think that does to the importance of jungling roles like hunters and predators?
It certainly elevates them, in the sense that if you play them well, you're able to get a lot of benefits. There's more there. There's just more experience. There's more vim in the jungle than you would see equivalently in other games. So if you take advantage of that, you're rewarded for it. One of the reasons why we really early on kind of went towards this map configuration where we have 3 large jungle quadrants, which is more than you traditionally see, is really just to allow a very flexible meta. One of the things that we personally found very interesting about a game like Dota is the competitive viable aspect of so many different team compositions. You see things like tri-lanes. You see things like sometimes there's a jungler, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's like a dedicated ganker. You see a lot of very interesting kind of team compositions arise. Now compare that to a game with like League of Legends, where you see a much more rigid meta.
Yeah.
Both of them have pros and cons for sure. Like one of the actual kind of advantages of a rigid meta, for example, is that you are always kind of you have a high degree of accuracy in knowing who you're going to be laning against or who you're going to be fighting against, right? Which allows you to kind of have these interesting matchups and set up pre-game configurations. But one of the things that we wanted to kind of capture was the ability to have this kind of diverse meta experience. So that's one of the reasons why we centered on 3 jungle quadrants and 2 lanes, because what it allows is it allows for a pretty flexible array of team compositions. You can have compositions where you have how do you clear this? I'll just kind of use this as a generic whiteboard here. You can have compositions where you have like 2 solo laners with 2 hunters, and then like 1 predator. This is a combination that we've seen work very successfully, where you will have basically 1 person constantly ganking the lanes, applying pressure, kind of taking the pressure off of 2 solo laners, with 2 people clearing the jungle on cooldown. There's enough jungle available to allow for 2 people to take advantage of that and successfully do it.
Yeah. I've actually seen, another possible example I've seen is actually 1 solo lane, 1 lane that's gladiator and tactician, and then a hunter in the jungle, and then also a predator in the jungle. And usually the predator goes the same lane as the 2-lane combination. So the 2-lane can actually help the predator get started because they need a little more help starting off with the jungle than the hunter would. And in my personal experience, that feels like it's been a very successful combo. In fact, you've been able to basically, like when we did an internal play test, Dave and I were doing that, our lead producer were doing that, and we were able to basically shut down an opposing jungler, Caleb, who is an extremely good jungler on our team.
Yep.
So
yeah, the jungle really provides kind of the core flexibility of kind of the viable meta compositions in our game. We're able to support a lot of different compositions, and they're all viable. The way that we make them all viable is with the role system. We kind of touched on it in the very beginning of this, where we said, we have the role systems. The purpose of the role systems in one sentence is to change the amount of money you get to make different playstyles viable. If you look at a game like League of Legends, right? Why is the meta so rigid in a game like that? Well, it's because everybody scales very well with items, which is awesome, right? Yep. Everybody likes being that guy who goes 20 and 0 and gets the pentakill, right? Yep. That's cool. That's a very fulfilling experience. Everybody likes that. So it's cool to have everybody scale. One of the issues that comes up with that, though, is you only have 4 sources of income, right? You need income to scale. You have 4 sources of it, 3 lanes and 1 jungle, but you have 5 players.
Yeah.
So really, if in order the best chance to win is to mathematically optimize those gold sources, right? You have 1 person not get any gold, the 0 CS support meta,
Yeah.
and then you have 4 people who take advantage of it. Deviating from that basically is less viable in terms of optimizing those gold sources,
Right.
which shuts down kind of the flexibility. The role system allows everybody in Dawn-Gate to continue to scale, right? Everybody in Dawn-Gate can end up being that guy who gets the glory if you
Right.
play your character well and play your role well. But the role system changes the math in the game to make all of these different compositions you see here, right? Composition A, composition B, composition C,
Right.
to all be capable of getting the same amount of money.
Right. And so that's, I mean, the ideally, I mean, you're talking about, instead of scaling the gold based on what character you're playing, which is essentially what that more rigid meta is doing, you're scaling it on your play style.
Exactly.
As opposed to that. So, like, really quickly, for folks who have never heard about our meta before, could you just go, or never heard about the role system before, so could you go over what the different roles, how they gain income?
Sure. So there's 4 roles, and the roles, one of the most important things about the role system, and this is one of the kind of the misconceptions that a lot of players have as they come into Dawn-Gate, is that the role system is not tied to specific shapers. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the tactician role is a role where you gain proximity money just for being near minions when they die.
Right.
In addition, you gain money when you harass enemy shapers. So a lot of people kind of think of this as the support role,
right?
Because it works very well with support archetype characters, right?
Yes.
Dibs, Zeri, those type of characters work very well with support.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people kind of just assume is true as a result of previous bias from previous games is that the tactician role gets less total vim than another role.
Which has actually not been the case. Yeah.
Exactly, right, which is actually not the case. In fact, there's been some interesting posts on Reddit where there people are saying, oh, the tactician role, you know, I'm CSing well, but I'm getting kind of I'm getting less total money at the end of the game than somebody's playing tactician. What's
Right.
up with that? Well, what that means is that the guy who played tactician has played their role very, very well. Each
Right.
of the role has elements where individual skill makes a great deal of difference.
Right.
Keeping your harass cooldown going, basically harassing on cooldown on tactician is very, very difficult actually.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're able to do it, you're vastly rewarded for it. You get quite a bit of money.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're basically, you know, and that's funny that you mentioned that post, because it's like, because of other metas, we are immediately, like, I think a lot of people, and probably myself included, are trained to think that, oh, you're playing support, you therefore should have less gold than me.
Right.
So if I see that you as a support type character have more, you know, money, more currency, more money than I do, there must be something wrong. But that's
Right.
just not the case in our game.
It's not the case in our game. Like, if you, much more about play style than character archetype. Like, we have players who just don't like last hitting, right? It's just not their thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like some players, it's like, you know, I prefer the more tactical gameplay of kind of territory control and harassment and zoning my opponent than I do micromanaging the minions. So the tactician role is great for them, right? They take a carry, they play somebody like Miquella, they play somebody like Amaranth in that role, they play it very well, they get tons of money, they carry the game.
Right.
It's much more about your preferred play style than it is kind of a pigeonhole of a specific shaper. Now the flip side of that is we have some characters like Buell, who you've seen on stream before, I believe,
Yep.
who loves farming, right? He's a farming machine. He wants
Yes.
nothing more than just like passively accrue a fortune, right? And then 20 minutes into the game, destroy you with that fortune, right?
Yeah.
And the gladiator role provides that play style as well.
We've covered the hunter, so I think we have the predator left as well.
Right. So to go in more detail with the gladiator real quick, the way that gladiator works in order to provide that kind of last-hitting farming gameplay, it's actually a chain, a bonus chain. So if when I last hit a minion...
Let me clear this.
Yep. When I last hit a minion... There's a minion.
Okay.
When I kill him,
Brilliant.
I will gain some bonus vim. Starts out right now, current tuning is +2. I now have 10 seconds to get another last hit. If I get another last hit within that period of time, the chain increases. I get +4. If I get another one, I get +6, etc. All the way up, where if I keep my chain going, if I don't let the stacks fall off, I'll get +30 additional per minion, which is it's like 150% of the minion's base value. The normal value is like +20 or so, right? So normally I get +20. If I'm like a super baller gladiator and I keep my stack going and I chain it between waves and like the king of micromanagement. Instead of getting plus 20, I'm getting plus 50 per minion. So we have the gameplay of that for people who really love farming in that role.
Okay.
So,
and then moving on to Predator.
Moving on to Predator. So the concept behind Predator is similar, right? It's really to dictate a preferred play style over linking it to specific shapers. So the Predator play style is for people who they just love PvP, right? They want to just roam around and engage in small skirmishes all the time. The bonuses for this role are you gain, when you kill or assist on an enemy, you get increased experience and you get increased money. So this is actually the only role in the game which impacts experience. The others actually mostly only impact them. This impacts experience in order to kind of catch you up from not being farming the jungle or farming in a lane. You're allowed to just kind of focus on ganking, focus on harassing, focus on kind of engaging in these small skirmishes, go seek out the enemy jungler, right? Play that roamer / ganker play style and not be punished for doing so.
Okay. Somebody asked what is Vim. Vim is the money in Dawn Gate. So, all right. So that was a really quick, not to make this entire catch up about the role system. We did want to talk about jungling. So, jungling, we spoke about, and you can either jungle, you can jungle probably effectively as either a hunter or a predator, by the way. I mean, they're both effective roles in the jungle. So, speaking earlier about jungling, we talked about how, one of your primary responsibilities as a jungler is to harass economy lines. Another one that's probably more well understood through MOBA meta is the ganking responsibility and providing that lane pressure as a jungler.
Yep.
So let's say you're starting on the right side, the mortal side, I think, or that's the spirit side.
Spirit.
So let's say you're starting on the spirit side. What as a jungler, what are some key places that you would look at as kind of I call them as entry points, but as points where you would want to look at providing that lane pressure or ganking on the map.
Right. So it's interesting. The most common ward positions are here and here. There's brush in these locations, which this basically creates a safety net of these 3 entry points.
Right.
So as a jungler, you want to assume that these points are pretty much always warded. One of the ways to avoid this is actually taking a route like this. You go through Parasite. Mm-hmm. This allows you to invade the enemy in a way that's commonly not warded at all.
Right.
It also allows you can sneak around like this. You can come up. You can sneak into this brush, and all of a sudden you're in their lane from an area they would never expect, and you bypass their ward coverage. There's a little bit of risk associated with doing so, but it'll often give you pretty good rewards because it bypasses those warding locations.
And if you're playing a shaper with mobility, you can cut across, any one of those the small walls right there as well.
Yep, for sure. So those are areas which are super super helpful to kind of thinking about where your enemy is most likely warded is certainly important if you're trying to get off successful ganks. Mm-hmm. It's also one of the reasons why one of my favorite team compositions, for example, involves a solo laner with 2 junglers, is because usually what's common, let's say this is a solo lane and there's 2 people against him, what you often see is that they're pushed up like this. They're usually in this position, so it's really easy to get off these kind of pincer ganks, especially if you have 2 junglers, because then you can coordinate it between your junglers.
Oh, that's evil.
To kind of cut off all viable retreat paths and collapse on them. It's one of the things where it's a more difficult composition to pull off, but it has great rewards if you're able to do it.
I think that for like, I hate to say, for a team on voice comms could definitely, but a team that's on like Skype or something like that could pull something off like this. I think pretty
right. It'd be more difficult in the solo queue environment, but with coordination, we've seen it be highly effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So these are some good gank points. What are some points that you really should be careful of? Obviously, you showed these 2 right here. And by the way, for those asking about that spot in the middle right there, if you could circle the Parasite for me. Mm-hmm. There we go. If you could circle that. So that's the Parasite. That's basically our equivalent of Roshan or Baron in our game. It's a large, scaling, evolving creature, and we can go more into that later on. But let's say that you are... let's say you're a jungler. Obviously, there's the 2 spots that you showed that are the most commonly warded areas in the game.
Yep.
What are some other areas that you really need to either be worried about being countered at, or are places that you would say are more risky to gank from?
So, kind of like I talked about earlier, one of the things that's really popular right now in our kind of more experienced skill games is the counter jungling between these two quadrants, the two side quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
So we've actually the meta's been sort of evolving to put a lot more protection on here. Traditionally, there was a lot of your wards were allocated towards the center to try to get coverage around the parasite, prevent these common gank routes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things you need to pay attention to as well, especially with this being so highly effective right now,
mm-hmm.
is how often people will look to counter jungle these high priority buffs in these areas. So as a jungler, you always want to kind of be keeping track of the timer. Buffs have a 5-minute timer for the respawn of these two particular side buffs, and look to potentially cut off or trap the enemy jungler as they come in to steal it. We've had a lot of success kind of knowing that an enemy is going to try to steal it on cooldown, waiting for them to get kind of overcommit into our side of the jungle, and then cut off their retreat path pretty easily. If you put basically one person here, you can pretty much just completely shut down their retreat paths. You can kind of go this way or this way. If you move, you give them a chance to escape, but if you just wait here, then basically cuts them off to the point where you can wait for your team to reinforce and actually corral them.
I'm taking notes, by the way.
and get some pretty easy kills. So that would, I would say, other than the kind of the mechanics behind the mental games of where are they warding and how do I avoid them in the center. These side areas, just because of how easy and powerful it is to counter jungle these, are areas you want to look towards, because you can pretty easily trap somebody who's looking to kind of steal either a Spirit Well or one of these side buffs.
Very cool. Right on. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this part of the conversation, this part of the stream, to a close, so we can take some questions from the folks at home, and we can actually use this to illustrate any answers to questions that we may have. But I do want to make sure that I'm reinforcing this, guys. That if you're in the beta right now, I recommend that you be creative with who you're jungling with. We had a really good example of a hunter. A hunter gunman. Varian last weekend by Scott Moore, our QA lead. Showing how a ranged carry can actually be an effective jungler in Dawngate. Don't be afraid to try these different roles. Try these different archetypes in the different roles in the hunter role. It's worth it. It's fun. It's going to make you think about the game differently, and you may discover something that's the next FOTM. You never know. So be creative, guys. Please be creative. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. And if you have jungle specific questions, we would love to see those. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can, though. You have gameplay / math specific questions. We can answer those as well, I think. But especially if you have hunter questions or jungling questions, please feel free to ask them now. So if you want to ask a question, put a Q with a colon mark in front of it, and then a colon mark after it, I should say, and then ask your question. We'll read the question out, and then we'll answer it here on the stream. So,
all right.
Really quickly, just to get to some of the more frequently asked questions out of the way, when are we going to open beta? We don't know yet. When we're ready.
When the game is good to go.
When the game is good to go. Is there going to be a competitive scene? That's up to the players. If the players want a competitive scene, then yes, there will be, and we'll be there to support it. But the absolute first thing we're focusing on right now is making a good game. So the game has to be fun before anything else. And is there deny? No. Is that Pluto behind me? Yes. All right. So
all right, we got that baseline set. So now we're good.
Can you talk about spawn timers in the jungle? You actually mentioned that earlier, but
sure. The spawn timers are pretty simple. Each of the small camps is a 3-minute respawn timer.
Okay.
Each of the buff camps is a 5-minute respawn timer.
Okay.
And the money pigs, which are also basically a buff camp.
Right. Except they just gave you bonus currency.
Right. Are also a 5-minute respawn timer, just like buffs. However, they don't spawn until 3 minutes into the game, whereas buffs spawn at 2 minutes into the game.
Okay. And then when do the small camps spawn into the?
And the small camps spawn at 150.
150. And then what about we did forget about one very important jungle creature, and that's the parasite.
And parasite, he spawns at 5 minutes into the game.
Okay. And what's his respawn timer?
His respawn timer is also 5 minutes.
Is also 5 minutes. Okay. There we go. I saw somebody ask a question about recalling in the bush, in the shrubbery, the shrub. the brush, whatever you want to call it. Does that make you visible when you're recalling in the brush?
It should not make you visible when you are recalling from the brush. However, you will be revealed the moment you take an action in the brush. So if you auto attack or fire an ability from the brush, it will reveal you temporarily. But while you're recalling, you should be able to continue your recall hidden after the initial reveal burst.
Okay. Akara Dude is asking if someone has never jungled in any game ever, will they have a hard time when it comes to learning the Dongye jungle?
I mean, jungling always has a certain amount of a learning curve. It's actually something that we struggled with internally in development for a long time, as we tried to find the right balance between accessibility and making it so that the jungle would not just kill new players with appropriate difficulty in order to allow min-maxing different routes and build optimization to be meaningful. So I think that new players will be able to do it, but they will certainly find that their subsequent attempts, they'll probably learn a lot and be able to perform much more strongly in their second or third attempt jungling.
Okay. I saw the question about getting buddy invites for beta. That's something we have plans for and we've been talking about. So we'll tell you guys more about that when that system's actually created. Let's see here. There was a question. Okay, yeah, that one I want to get to. I also saw the question about will we be free to play? Yes, the game will be free to play. We'll discuss more about the business strategy further along during the beta. There was a great question by Agatha Logic, I think it was. I want to say Agatha Agatha That's quite a mouthful right there. Could you talk about the loadouts / the more effective loadouts for jungles versus other roles? And that's talking about the perk system. That's actually a really good question. Something we did not bring up. So tell us a little bit about those loadouts. Why what are some good loadouts to look at?
So some great loadouts are the Adventurer loadout, which I believe gives you increased move speed as you go through brush.
That's correct.
There's a lot of brush in the jungle. It allows you to not only clear camps faster because of that move speed, but it also is great while ganking.
It also gives you something besides move speed.
Gives you some flat stats, which are helpful for jungling.
Stats, yes.
Gives you like some armor and so forth.
Yes.
So that's a great one. There's a hybrid like power haste armor one, which is pretty great for jungling. Kind of gives you all the basic raw stats you need for jungling. Mm-hmm. There's certainly some more gank oriented ones. Things. Never mind. Spoiler. Those aren't in the live build yet.
Yeah.
Look forward to that soon.
Look forward to that one. I personally like using Force Bubble on junglers. That's my personal preference.
Yep. Force Bubble gives a lot of just raw health, which is nice. You can generally wait until the shield regenerates before doing a big objective camp, and it will save you a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. And Resonance is actually one of the most effective jungling perks for anybody who's auto attack based, because Resonance gives you increased damage on basic attacks that stacks if you continue to attack a single target, and in the jungle you're often able to attack a single target for quite some time, such as on the large buff monsters. So Resonance is actually highly effective for clear speed.
Monolith Core, why did the towers have so many brushes by them with so many tight turns blocking view right after those brushes?
So it's in order to provide there's a couple reasons. We wanted to provide enough gank entrances into the lane such that a single ward would still make you feel safe, but not actually stop every route. That you kind of see that here, where this ward cuts off a majority of the access to the lane, making you feel relatively safe, but there's still ways you can bypass it in order to allow ganks to happen, but make them associated amount of risk with ganking a lane that's heavily warded like that.
Right.
So a lot of the entrance kind of design into a lane is around giving enough raw entrances to make it so that ward do not shut down the possibility of ganking, but still makes it so that you are successfully shutting down enough routes to feel well protected. The brush is kind of an extension of that, where we wanted it so that a single ward could not deny or basically provide brush vision, such that if a player is getting zoned or is in a weaker position, they can still get into the proximity experience and proximity Vim range, or get into a position where they can kind of capitalize on a gank without kind of showing their hand, so to speak. We needed enough kind of split areas within the brush to make it so that a single vision reveal did not reveal the entire length of brush.
Okay. Does the Vanquish spell give you bonus Vim, like if you had the Mastery for Smite?
It does not. The Vanquish, it purely does damage. However, one of the interesting things about Vanquish in comparison to Lull, since he brought up the example, is that you can respec your spells in Dawn-Gate. So once you get to like level 8 to 10 or so, and unless you're looking to contest Parasite, you no longer need Vanquish just for your innate sustain. You can actually drop it and replace it with some more offensive or gank-oriented spell.
Okay. Yaydog is asking if you can recap what the different jungle buffs do really quickly, and then after you do that, I actually forgot I did want to show the folks at home some really cool analytics that we have about jungle routes and stuff like that.
Sure. So the green buff gives you flat power, and it also increases your total power by a percentage. The flat power is included in that percentage increase, so you actually get a little more than the flat power itself. The blue is giving you flat haste, and then it also gives you a additional flat haste when you use an ability. So you get 20 haste from it, I believe. You cast a spell, you get another 20 haste for a short duration to kind of capitalize on chaining abilities with the correct timing.
Okay.
The orange buff gives you flat armor, and when you deal damage, you gain stacking percentage damage reduction. Stacks up to 10%.
Okay.
So you can kind of see this follows the theme of each buff gives you a flat stat associated with its color. Armor is orange, haste is blue, power is green, and then it also has a more kind of interesting conditional trigger which augments that theme of offense, defense, or utility.
And that damage reduction, the stacking percentage applies to both magic and physical damage, right?
Yep.
Okay. There was a question if we were considering adding MR to the flat value for the orange buff as well.
We don't want to add. We don't want to add flat to the armor amount because we need to be much more careful with our magic resist itemization than with armor itemization. It's pretty much okay to just flood the game with various amounts of armor and kind of all over the place because very high armor amounts aren't really the end of the world because what it mitigates most is sustained physical damage.
Right.
So if I stop Miquella from killing me in 5 hits and instead it takes her 7 hits, it's not the end of the world for her because she doesn't have a resource on her basic attack, right? She just attacks you 1 or 2 more times.
Attacks you, yeah.
Whereas with magic resistance, if I unload a full burst combo with Amorous and I don't kill you, then I am extremely vulnerable. It starts to impact the viability of those characters.
And we're talking about if all things are equal, by the way. We're not talking about in every single game, guys. Both you guys are at basically comparable Vim levels, comparable item levels, and everything like that.
Right, for sure. So basically, we need the TLDR is we need to be much more careful with magic resistance itemization.
Yes.
Than we do with armor.
That makes a lot of sense actually. So I did want to show you guys this really fast here. This is an interesting little map that was sent over to us by Ben, our analytics and metrics guy. Let me go over here to this. So this is actually, let me hit refresh. See if it loads quickly. Go server. Come on. So here we go. All right, you can see this right here. You can see these little dots down in the left corner, and these lines are starting to pop up right here. So what is this showing us right now? Oh, hold on a second. I need to click off of this. There. Okay, now. You can't actually draw on this one.
But I want to draw.
Oh, okay.
I can't draw things all over.
Oh no, wait, yeah, you have a lot. There's a whiteboard overlay on it. Yeah, you should be able to draw. Okay.
Just imagine if we could draw in the minimap in game. People would be drawing delightful dicks all over the place.
Oh no, we can't do it there. That was bad.
It's fine. I can talk to it. So what this is an example of some of the telemetry data that we have regarding jungling and jungle routes. This is actually showing some of the highest win percentage jungle routes. You can see the one in red, which kind of follows the example that I was talking about earlier, where we see people starting in one of the side quadrants, grabbing the money pigs on their way towards counter jungling the enemy's side quadrant as well.
Right.
So this is just kind of, it's a cool piece of data visualization which allows us to see what routes are people using, what's the kind of the win percentage of that routes, what shapers are they using, what's the outcome, right? What does a game look like 10 minutes in when somebody does route X, those type of things. We have an interesting example of the visualization that we have of that type of data.
Yeah, and this is I actually did ask Ben specifically to pull the data for people who are playing the hunter role in this case and who are winning matches. So these are what has, according to the numbers, been shown to be a a little bit more successful, I would say,
Right.
by that measure of success.
Yeah, and like you said, this is under the specific conditions of hunter roles with certain win rates. If we were to look at jungle routes with people taking the predator role, it'd look very different. You'd see a lot more activity based around lanes, based around spirit wells, etc.
Right. So that was a pretty cool little bit there. So anyways, somebody's asking if we're giving keys. We are giving away keys, but we're doing it quietly in the stream.
Pluto behind me, he's doing it. See, there he is. He's right. He's right.
Brad's giving out keys every 5 minutes. So.
I'm trying to line it up with the camera. There he is, right there. Just got
Mombi, why Origin account? Well, so just to be specific, it's the Origin account, not the actual client. And why? Because it's there, it works, and we don't have to set up our own separate database. And honestly, there's a lot of cool things that we can actually do with that.
Yeah, it's very beneficial. Like, we have a lot of people asking us, oh, when are these features coming out? Everybody kind of has their own personal feature they want to see in the game, right? Where's spectator mode? Where's ranked play? Where's refer a friend? Where are all these features? Leveraging the Origin account service frees up a lot of our time. We don't have to build a very, very complicated backend that needs to work like 99.9999% of the time. It frees us up to start building those more requested features so we can get those features to you faster.
Yep. Yes, Wild Daddy, he's PMing people beta keys. We're giving out like one every 5 minutes or something like that. So if you win one, it'll be in a PM inbox. Somebody spammed earlier, or cheered earlier, I should say, in the channel saying that yay, I got a key!
A random key is materialized. Yes. That's what I want.
Is Pluto a planet? No, Pluto is not a planet. We've already established that. He's a ginger.
It's true, he got demoted.
Yes.
No longer planet status.
Let's see here. What other questions do we have? I saw some other good gameplay questions. Are you planning on putting skills on the buff to make them... On the buff mobs. Oh, skills on the buff mobs.
It's an interesting question. We're not looking at that initially, simply because we want the buff mobs to basically be a time risk reward. We want you to be able to. We want to focus a lot of skirmishes in the jungle. One of the goals behind the Spirit Wells was to bring more action to the jungle areas. We don't want to necessarily overflow the early game experience with too many mechanics where the player has to be both worrying about a complex PvE fight while they're engaging in PvP. We're more okay with it towards the end when players have a lot of power through items and levels to kind of deal with, oh, I accidentally stood in fire for 1 second. My game is now not completely bones, right? Whereas if that was something in the very early game, because of the snowball factor, it could be a lot more detrimental to the experience. So we're generally more nervous about adding kind of complex PvE encounters to the early game because of the snowball kind of factor, where we're more comfortable with doing it in towards the later stages, which is why you see things like the Parasite's final evolution. As the Parasite evolves, he actually gains new abilities, so we following that curve. He's relatively simple in his early stage, whereas his final stage of evolution has lots of interesting abilities because it's easier to do. It's less capabilities for it to kind of negatively snowball your experience in the late game as opposed to the early game.
Right. What's the average time for a single game? I think that we've stated before that our goal is for it to be around 25 to 35 minutes. There's going to be outliers on both sides of it, but 25 to 35 minutes.
Yep.
So, why is Dibs so adorable? I think it's the goatee, actually.
It's true.
Probably what does it.
Both are adorable, the shaper and the person.
Let's see here. Can we add additional particles so it makes auto attacks easier to notice?
So it's a good point. It talks to this the game readability as a whole. That is something we are always looking to improve. If there's a particular aspect of the game, in fact, I remember reading a Reddit thread earlier where they were talking about Dibs' E being particularly hard to notice if it was cast successfully or not. We all read that. I immediately went over and talked to our particle guys, and they were like, we agree, we're going to look to fix that, right? So if you see things that the readability could be improved on, let us know. Tell us in the forums, tell us on IRC, tell us on Reddit. We'll see it and we'll fix it.
Yep. Are we going to have different skins? I believe cosmetic is one of those things that we know people have a lot of love for. So I would not be surprised to see those type of things. But right now, guys, we're not really discussing all the monetization stuff. But yes, customization. We know that there's a high demand for that within the MOBA genre. When will I get more Otter champions? I want a full Otter team. That's actually, that's a good point. Through the story and the lore, maybe we could explore, Moya's kinfolk.
It's true.
I
I encourage people to read Moya's story. She has a badass story.
Yeah.
She's a delightful little otter lass.
Yes, she is. She's a little bit of a lush.
That's true.
From what I understand, but
yeah, I would love to see some more of her friends join the fray.
Yeah, absolutely. Otter Squad, go. There we go. Sorry, Mini Wolf, not a ferret squad. It's an otter squad. Anyways, I know he was going to ask about that. Will it be for Mac? Right now, we're Windows only, but in the future, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't work on something for Mac. But,
yeah, we're certainly not against it. It's just something that we need to balance with time, right?
Yeah.
Primary game feature development is higher priority for us right now, but
than a Mac client.
Yeah.
But down the road, way down the road, but down the road. Blaster 283, got time for a couple more questions. Blaster 283 is asking, will there be a camp stacking system?
There's currently not, although we're looking to provide similar kind of strategic options that fulfills, but in a way that's hopefully more visible to newer players.
Okay. Favorite shaper that's not been released yet, mouthing the name works too. Sure, I'll go ahead and I'll mouth the name right now.
Favorite shaper's not released yet? Well, actually, the one shaper that they're aware of is my favorite, the one that's not released yet, which is the Purple Girl.
Purple Girl?
Yep.
You would like her. Jeez. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Oh, guys, you guys don't need the Chrome extension. We use that, not you guys. You don't have to download that. We should probably put that in the FAQ actually, that they don't have to download it. We just use it. Let's do one more question here. So this is actually a good question. It's kind of jungle related. What buffs does the Parasite give when you kill it?
The buff that you get from the Parasite. So Parasite he has 3 evolutions. There's Evolution 1, where he's small and kind of sad. There's Evolution 2, where he's bigger, and he's like, I'm kind of getting awesome. And then there's Evolution 3, where he's like, yeah, I'm super awesome, what up? And in Evolution 2, he gets something like 30 flat power with some small amount of percentage health regen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 1.5% or so.
Right.
And then in Evolution 3, it's all basically doubled. You get 60 flat power, and I believe like 3% regeneration. So it's designed for basically ending games. If you're not quite able to have the throughput or sustain to kind of siege the Guardian, the Parasite buff will definitely give you the little oomph you need to finish off the game.
Outstanding. All right, cool. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Hopefully the folks who've been watching have enjoyed this kind of really in-depth, deep dive into some jungle meta or strategy even. Not really meta, because that's up to the players to decide the meta. But no buff. Sad face. That's why it's a sad face.
It's true.
He's got no buff. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Make sure if you want to catch up on more of the information that you may have heard, you thought you heard, but you might have missed. Double check watch the VOD later. It posts almost immediately afterwards. And be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to have Will Coiner, I believe, one of our concept artists playing the game, maybe showing off some concept art stuff that he's been working on.
True.
Fun stuff.
He has some delightful work.
He does. He actually is, and he does some amazing voices.
That is also true.
Be sure to tune in.
Delight.
Tune in Friday, starting at noon Pacific, 2100, 9 p.m. Central European Summer Time. We're going to be streaming the closed beta test all 9 hours. So from noon to 9, we will be on the air. We'll be streaming. We'll be playing games, talking to developers. I'm sure Dave will be back with his fine beverage report again. Hopefully, because
hopefully I'll win a game on stream this time.
Hopefully you'll win a game on stream this time. And we'll also be giving away some beta keys on Friday. Maybe we'll go crazy like we did yesterday. You never know. But also, if you're in the beta, please make sure that you are filling out the survey if you haven't already. If you have filled out the survey, make sure that every time there's a new patch, you fill out the survey again, because that's a new data point for us. We really need that. There is no patch this week, no big content patch. I think we're working on some stability fixes this week, but we'll let you guys know more about that, and then we'll be putting up an official announcement today about beta times and all that fun stuff. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in for our weekly community catch up. We hope to see you all again next week, and tomorrow and Friday, and go register for the beta right down there.
Yep.
Click Shape the Future.
Come play our game. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. help shape the future of this video game.
Yep. And tune in for more chats like this every Wednesday. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.